another fighting position you could have, let me just reset and go back to the default stance. And also fix the render settings here. Great. So another stance you could have is a overhead guard type of thing. So again, we will get the sword in his hand real quick. Here we go. So what we're going to do this time is rotate towards the weapon, rotate the waist towards the weapon, sorry. Again, we're going to do it 70 degrees, like so. So instead of rotating it this way, we're going to rotate the other way. We're going to also do the curved hunch over thing, you do with every fighting stance. And again, rotate the head so that he's facing the target. This time, instead of raising the weapon out forward, this is going to be above his head. So what we're going to do is select the sword, or select his hand, move it above his head, and get that proper. Since a lot of Minecraft rigs don't have a long enough hand, you could use a stretch feature. In fact, why don't I go ahead and do that right now? Stretch his arm out so he can get a longer arm. So now he's a longer arm, I think he'll have more reach to go over his head. If not, then we'll just stick it out a bit. Generally, what you want to do is get the sword over his head, since I still don't think that would work. Nah, that won't work. The Minecraft rig is simply too... it's not built for that. So we'll stick it out next to his face instead. So place the arm behind his head, and somewhere like that. We'll select the pole to rotate the arm, so that the sword sticks outward. So looks like we need some wrist motion here, since the sword is inside his face. What we want to do here is select your wrist joint, if your rig has one. Where is that? And rotate his wrist outwards. Whoa. Looks like my rig's glitching out a bit. That's not supposed to happen. Maybe it's this way? No, that's not it. Well, looks like my rig's glitching out, but it's strange. Alright, so assume that I don't have my wrist movements. What we want to do is select the sword and rotate it outward so that it doesn't stick into any parts of his body. What I generally like to do with this stance as well is rotate the sword kind of this way. Yep. Now it's not possible to get that position with a Minecraft rig, since it's not above your head. But that's generally how you would hold it if it were above your head. I'm trying to figure out if there's any easier way to do this. But I guess this we'll have to do, since there is no other way. So again, swords like these are supposed to be defensive as well as offensive, excuse me. So we should again move it to a more defensive area that will cover his head. The other arm again is not going to be floppy. We should stretch the other arm forward so that it can... Now this is where I'm not sure if we should do this or not. We could stick the hand out so that it would look like he's aiming with the sword so he can strike more accurately. But if you stick your hand out, that would be a target for your enemies to hit. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to keep it stuck out just for now. If you don't get what I'm trying to say, if your hand's right here, the enemy's somewhere over here, he could hit your hand if you stick it out like that. But I've seen some video games and movies where people do this. Again, with the legs, you need a steady stance. In fact, this one's going to be really, really low stance. So, foot first. Since it's going to be a low stance, we're going to spread his legs out wider. Both legs are going to be pointing in the same direction this time, but he won't fall over because he's in a low stance. He's closer to the Earth's GFS. So we get both of his poles and we make it face outwards, or face the same direction as his chest does. Alright, so make sure his legs aren't pointing inwards like they are now. Make sure they point outwards. Or not completely out, but like not towards each other and not too far away from the body. Now, right now he doesn't look very stable either. This is because his the ankles are not aligned to the floor. My rig comes with an ankle movement. Hopefully it doesn't glitch out. That's a completely wrong movement. Alright, so I am glitching out a bit. I'll have to live with that, I guess. Move this side. Now I'm not going to keep him this tall since I'm not sure what's going on with this gray area. I think there's a glitch there with the rig. But what I like to do is generally hide that since that happens to me a lot. I'll push him through the ground a bit. So now he actually looks steady. Looks like his feet are on the ground. If we highlight his legs like this. So here's another stats for you. Got to get that out of the way. We'll render this out. In fact, I think the front leg should be pointing forward. I should have dealt with that earlier. Right, so what would you do if you have two weapons? Again, you need the wrist movement on your front arm. Let me see if it glitches out. Alright, great, this one doesn't glitch out that much. So this is what I mean by wrist movement. You can kind of twist a wrist like this. So twist that wrist just a bit, and we will move it across a bit. Let me think of how my character holds his weapons. Right. So the axe would go into this hand. Let me select the axe real quick. I'll detach it from the control and into the arm on the left. So I'm gonna have him stick his weapon out like that. Again, I don't know if this is effective or not, because if you stick your weapon out like that, people just kind of hit it to the side, and they'll, like, if they were to hit it where my mouse, like the direction of my mouse, then they could get behind you and hit you on your blind side, which is not going to be fun. But then again, you know, I've seen people do this. Or actually, a more effective position without that disadvantage. I think I would do that. So that his arm's less of a target. And there we go. A dual wielding stance. He should not be pointing his axe outwards like that. Again, always point the weapons inwards to defend yourself. I think this is a pretty good position. It looks like he's floating, doesn't he? Let me get a better angle. Right here. Even though this covers his face. So this, yeah, here's the animation disadvantage. You can't see your character's face if you do this. But anyway, here's another sword fighting position for you. Alright, so we'll move on to firearms and bows and arrows. These will be relatively similar.